Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be finally talking about cozy books to read in quarantine. I was planning to make a video like this since lockdown started last year in 2020, but because I just felt like there were already a lot of videos going around and I didn't know if, quarantine was going to be as long, I didn't make a video like that. And how wrong was I, because it's 2021 and we're still home and I really don't know how long this is going to go on. But in order to keep my mental health a bit stable, I like to read, and I feel that reading is just the best remedy to deal with any stress that you're facing, because you tend to, just immerse yourself in a new world, and it helps you to forget your worries just for a while, and also it just makes you feel calmer and peaceful. But that is why I have decided to share some of the books that I feel are really cozy and comforting to me, and I hope that these make you feel like a warm cup of coffee or tea might help you feel. I don't know if that's cheesy, but I'm gonna be sharing 10 books with you, and these are not in any particular order, so feel free to read any that you feel like reading. And also, these are all books obviously that I have personally read and liked, and they're from different genres, so I don't know if they're actually as cozy, but they make me feel cozy, so that is the reason why I've included them. And I am planning on making an episode 2 of this video, just because I feel like I was finding it so difficult to just narrow down my list to 10 books, so definitely going to be making another video talking about more books. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And now the very first book, it is such a heavy book. As you can see, it is Harry Potter. Obviously, it was going to be Harry Potter because Harry Potter is the reason why I started reading a lot more fantasy. I started reading this when I met my boyfriend Gav. Like, I was already planning on reading them, and then he told me how good they are, and I was like, I need to get into it, and I started reading, and it's just so special to me. Even with everything that happened with J.K. Rowling, I just don't like to think about that when it comes to these books especially. And the reason I've included illustrated is because I do want to reread this book in the illustrated edition. Like, look at how beautiful and heavy, but beautiful that is. Like, that is just lovely. And yeah, I have the first 4 editions of this illustrated, the first 4 illustrated editions of Harry Potter, and I am planning to reread them. And yeah, that is one reason why I included them. I just feel like if you want to feel cozy, I would highly recommend getting the illustrated editions and reading them for yourself. Even if you've read them, I would definitely reread this series just to feel cozy. Also, I do not need to explain what Harry Potter is. I'm sure a lot of people know what it is, but it's just about wizards and magic, and even if you don't know what it is, I would recommend you to just go into it without really knowing anything. But yeah, you will just have the time of your life. It's just a wonderful adventure as far as I can say. Now, the next book is another series. I feel like I'm kind of cheating because I've included some series, but I had to include this, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. I actually have the prequel to this book here as well, which is actually published after this book, but it is the prequel to this, if you know what I mean. That is, the events in this book take before this book, but I would definitely recommend reading this series in the order of the publication date. That's how I read it, and it made a lot of sense to me. And once you read the, like the first story and everything, and then go to the prequel, it just makes a lot of sense. And just read it according to publication dates if you want to actually enjoy it. But you can also read this book first if you want to. That's totally up to you. Now, this book, I need to explain what it's about. So Throne of Glass is about this assassin, Selena. So all I'm gonna say is she's caught and she's taken to like this kingdom, and she has to fight her way through some of these like battles that they have arranged for them. And I know this feels like very cliche and it's like every fantasy out there, but the first two books are all right. I feel like the second book was a little crazy. The first book isn't all that great, to be very honest, but after the second book I just fell in love with this story. So I feel like you need to get through the first two books and you are going to absolutely love it after that. Like Kingdom of Ash, which was the last book in the series, was just the best book I have read last year. It was just amazing. So if the camera angle has changed, it's because I had to reinstall my memory card. There was just an error with it. But anyway, I was talking about Throne of Glass. If you want to immerse yourself into a completely different world that's beautiful, highly recommend Throne of Glass. And now the third book, again, I'm kind of cheating, but I had to talk about this, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I actually filmed a vlog where I read this book, and I will link it here so that you can actually go and watch it for yourself. But it is such a lovely series. So far, I'm actually on the third book of the series right now, but this series is actually being turned into a not Netflix, I think it's a Disney series, but a TV series, and I am really excited about that. I started reading this in February, or was it March? I don't know, but I am loving this so much, and I highly recommend it if you want to like immerse yourself in a fantasy world, just like I said previously. But hear me out. This book, it's about this girl called Farah. She's a human and she hates fairies. So fairies are sort of immortals, and they have specific powers, and they can also sometimes shapeshift. And the world is divided into fairies, that is immortals and mortals. And I don't want to like spoil too much, but Farah kills an animal that she's not supposed to kill, and she's taken into this immortal realm, and she has to stay there. She cannot leave, even though she's not like a slave. And this is just like a little glimpse of the story. It's not even the complete story at all, or like it's not as basic as it sounds. It's very complex, and you will find out more as you keep on reading the series, because it's not just a single book, obviously. But yeah, highly recommend this if you love fantasy, and since it's becoming a TV series soon, I would definitely like tell you to pick this up right now and get into it. Okay, now that's all for all the series. I'm going to finally talk about single books, and the fourth book that I really want to talk about is a classic, and that is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Do I have to say anything? It's Agatha Christie. Now, if you do not like mystery or books by Agatha Christie, you may not like it, but it's about these group of strangers, that's 10 strangers that go to this island, and all I'm gonna say is that they start dying one by one, and you don't know who the killer is. And it's really strange because in the end, all of them, like, look at the title, And Then There Were None. So who is actually the killer if there's nobody else on the island? It's amazing. I love this book so much. It's my most favorite book by Agatha Christie, and I've read a ton of her books, so I highly recommend this if you're into like a cozy, comforting mystery read. That's perfect. The next book is actually another classic, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Again, probably not a surprise to you, but I read this book this year and I fell in love with the story. I actually have quite a few editions of this book, but I thought this summary edition is just perfect for the season, and it's also got some recipes in it by Martha Stewart, so that's great. Why do I look so yellow? But yeah, if you're looking for a lovely classic to get into, and if you don't know where to start, I highly recommend Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, because it's a really simple, lovely read. The story is about Elizabeth Bennet and her sisters and basically her family, and I find her mother, Mrs. Bennet, to be just the funniest character there is. And I mean, I don't mean that in the best way possible, but it's about Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet mostly, and I just don't feel like the story ended there. It's about all the other characters and their relationships that are forming, I don't want to give out any spoilers, to be very honest, but I would say that just take the story very slow if you're just getting into classics, and I highly recommend like sitting with the dictionary and looking through the words you don't understand, because that's what I did. There was one word in it called alacrity, which I kind of still remember that I learned from the book. There are so many new words that I learned just because I am not an English literature student, so reading classics is very new to me, but I absolutely enjoyed the slow pace of the story, and at the same time how much I devoured the book. It was just a lovely book. I definitely recommend this if you're into a slow, beautiful read that is not just shallow. Yeah, that's my 5th book. The next book is Little Bee Street Bakery by Jenny Colgan, and this is actually a book I read last summer, and I love this book so much. It's about this girl Polly who decides to open a bakery in this place called Cornwall. Now, the story is not as linear as I'm making it sound. Polly doesn't have like enough money to get an apartment to rent or anything like in the city area, so she decides to move to Cornwall because she gets this place which is quite cheap, and that's why she moves there. It's sort of a broken down area, and she doesn't open the bakery up until much later, but she's very good at baking, and the reason she starts the bakery is because she's not getting a good job. And I don't want to spoil anything else. I would say go into it with like an open mind, and I feel like the story is just much more than only the bakery side of it. It's just about the relationships among the different people in this small village, and it's just such a lovely, wonderful, cozy read. And the setting is just so beautiful. Cornwall is like kind of a semi-island because there's a small pathway that gets cut off from the main city whenever there's a lot of rain, because the path leading to Cornwall gets flooded over. So if you were to get stranded there, basically you're cut off from the city. But that's just not all. It's also because it's like near the sea area and everything is just so summery to me. And funnily enough, I found Summer at Little Bee Street Bakery at a book sale, and I immediately got this to read it this summer. So even though I've not read this book, this is definitely so summery, and I don't know how this is going to be, but I'm expecting the best from it, and I'm just so excited. Apparently there are even more books in this series, and I'm just really excited to get into them all. But yeah, that was the 5th book or the 6th book? The 6th book. The 7th book is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and you may have heard of this book just because it was so popular like a while ago. I don't know if it's as popular anymore, but I absolutely loved this read. It's kind of a sad story, but it is still cozy, if you know what I mean. It's about Eleanor Oliphant, obviously, and she leads a very simple life. She goes to work, comes back and has like the same routine with like getting the same food every weekend and everything, and she feels like change isn't her thing, but like soon she realizes that her world is about to shatter, and that's the gist of the story. I don't want to give more than that, but it's a lovely read. It's quite comforting and at the same time very sad, and the ending was something that I didn't really completely expect. So yeah, that's that. I don't want to spoil anything else, but like I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it's a lovely read if you're into kind of a slice of life, emotional reads sort of books. I don't know. But that was the 7th book. The 8th book I have is How to Fall in Love by Cecilia Ahern, and this was definitely one of those books that I read at a time in my life when I was so sad, and it just brought me so much joy, and that's one reason I have so many memories tied with this book. And it's one book that really got me into reading even more, you could say like slice of life. I don't know if I would categorize it as slice of life, but just books that teach you something about life. So in this book, we're dealing with Christine and Adam. So Christine is one day walking on a bridge and Adam is about to commit suicide, and Christine stops him from doing that. And Adam gives her 2 weeks to help him fall in love with his life again. And if she doesn't succeed, he's going to take his life. And that's the premise of the book. That's why it's called How to Fall in Love, and it's a really wonderful book as far as I remember. I don't know if I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses. Like, I do have to reread this to see how I feel about it. So I'm kind of scared to reread it, but I am going to. And yeah, it's a lovely, lovely book, and I would recommend it if you are into such stories. The next book I have is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Now, this is a book that I actually read during college, and it was a really comforting book to me. Even though, honestly, nothing really happens in this book that's like monumental or anything. It's about Kath and Ren, who are twins, and they're identical. And Ren is kind of this very party-going kind of a person, and Kath is more of a nerd. And when they go to university, was it university? Yeah, university. Ren decides to not be like a part of the twin group anymore, and she wants to go out and do things. Well, it's not as easy for Kath, and she has to struggle through her university life. If you're in university, definitely recommend it, even though I feel like since we're at home, the entire like vibe of going to university has been ruined for many students. But at the same time, if you do want to lose yourself in a setting like that, I do recommend Fangirl. It was a lovely, slow, cozy read for me, at least. And the last book that I have here is Fangirl, not Fangirl, The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I tend to forget the author's name, but this book I got in the Big Book Box. And by the way, I am the Big Book Box summer rep, so if you do want a discount code for their books, I will leave that down in the video description as well as on the screen here. Just a little mini what's it even called? I don't know. Promotion. But getting back to the book, this is again kind of similar to Eleanor Oliphant, where we have Nina Hill, and she's also a nerdy person, and she has a job at the bookstore. She has a cat, I think, and yeah, a cat named Phil. She's also a part of a trivia team, and she just thinks her life is perfectly fine and normal, and she is the daughter of a single mother. But later on, she actually finds out that her real father has died, even though she never knew him, and he has left her something to her name. Now, she doesn't know exactly what that is, and we find out throughout the story that she learns she has a lot of relatives and she needs to meet all these different people, and she's scared, and she just rather escape all of that and just, you know, lose herself in a book or something. But that's the premise of the story, and she doesn't want to basically deal with the real world, and I feel like a lot of us can relate to that. But that is the 10th book that I did want to talk about, because if you're into sort of a bookish character, a nerd, whatever, I definitely think you will enjoy this one. So that's my 10th book. I feel like this video has been so long, but if you would like to see another episode of me talking about more cozy books, more comforting reads, definitely do let me know, and I will be happy to make another video. But yeah, those are a lot of books, and I really do hope if you pick up any of these, you do enjoy them and they bring some comfort to you. Since it's lockdown here again, I feel like I'm going to be reading hopefully a lot more if I'm not sitting down anxious in one place. And yeah, like if I'm anxious, I cannot read, and I'm trying to be as calm as possible. But yeah, my birthday is gonna be coming so soon, and I'm just hoping things get better. Like, I know that my birthday is nothing when it comes to what's happening around. I'm just in general hoping that everything gets better, but up until then we can just stay home and stay safe. So yeah, I will see you in a new video, and I hope you're staying safe and just take care of yourself. Bye.